Hello peeps, Cubits here, and I want to talk about my favourite Call of Duty game of ever, the Wii version of Black Ops 1. We'll get to why that is in a second. So on the weekend I threw the disc into the Wii U and booted it up just to see if the servers were still active. Not only were they intact, but I got into the game within seconds of firing up, it was a full server, and there were no hackers. Now, the server population wasn't huge, it was under 300 and TDM was the only game mode playable, but the game still works and it's still glorious. Here's why. Number 1. The spawning makes sense, mostly. Modern iterations of COD have been focusing harder and harder on non-stop action, and it's often achieved by dropping you as close to enemies as possible. This leads to a frantic scramble for positioning upon spawning, like waking up from sleepwalking to the vision of car headlights. In Black Ops 1, cheap spawns are barely a problem. You get spawned near your allies, and the map design gives you enough breathing room to orient yourself. The worst map is definitely Nuketown, and even then you'll alternate ends for spawning based on where the most enemies are hanging out. This results in a to and fro momentum when one team is outmuscling the other, which has a nice rhythm itself. Number 2. There's way less debris and clutter in the Wii version. Being able to tell an enemy apart from the scenery is a core ingredient in fun arcadey shooters like COD. The superior versions of COD tend to have maps strewn with brown and grey garbage, which encourages people to lie around in the dirt waiting for their prey, much like the Angel Shark. And much like the Angel Shark, it's ugly. Strip all of that away, and even at the low res of the Wii, players are distinctive and the whole game flows better. Number 3. Snipers are for sniping. I hate quickscoping. Really, it makes no sense to me, and the people who like it must only do so because it was in previous versions. It's broken, and just because it was in other versions doesn't make that acceptable. The sniping game should be long range and considered, not a run-and-gun shotgun with infinite range. Black Ops 1 nails this by crushing quickscoping into the ground, whilst introducing map design which actually allows for traditional sniping. Array is brilliant, has huge sightlines, and it just works. Number 4. Time.To.Kill, counting bullets, and recoil. Ever since I think it was Modern Warfare 3, the time-to-kill in Call of Duty has crossed the threshold into what I'd call unacceptable. The dual FMGs were utterly horrendous. A longer time to kill promotes smarter bullet placement, provides escapability which is countered by setting traps, and gives people hope. Instead, the modern games are basically hide and seek. I see you, blam. As with playing Counter-Strike, you can also count your bullets to more carefully administer a whooping. Now, the match you're seeing here is pretty laggy since there's never going to be a chance of a local game for me, but normally, even with the AK-74U, I'd be tapping the trigger to measure out the pain. Tapping the trigger also handles the significant recoil. You'll see this cheap light gun bounce around all over the place as it throws the big bullets, and that kind of impact just never made it into the later games. Number 5. Structured level design. My very earliest foray into game design in high school was in building Half-Life and Counter-Strike maps in Worldcraft. I learned so much about choke points, flanking strategy, and balance, along with the constant struggle for performance in the Half-Life 1 engine. Black Ops 1 is a game full of smartly designed levels. It has carefully crafted conflict points with a useful number of terrain-based countermeasures in place. It provides options for most weapon types in most maps, and makes fantastic use of the tactical items. The rational spawning also provides for a more squad-based movement, instead of the random chaotic garbage that we get these days. And there's a lot of variety in level structure. Nuketown is up close and personal, of course, which makes fantastic use of the cartoonishly horrendous range of the shotguns, but also allows for assault rifles to handle the longer sightlines of the flanks. Array is massive, but offers a combination of corridor fights and controlling the open spaces with long-range weapons. Crash has a lot of verticality, open lines, but the short runs through the spaces make SMGs just as viable as anything else. The vast majority of maps in later games have come down with what I call Swiss cheese syndrome, to prevent camping by putting several doors into every room and removing the ability for anyone to feel in control of their space. It's heart-pumping, sure, and relentless, but that gets tiring quickly. Ghosts wound this trend back slightly with more logical layouts, but it was a temporary reprieve. There's just no yin to the yang in COD maps now, no salt for the sweet. Pauses define the music, but all we have now is Animal wailing on the drums. Number 6, the Wiimote. Oh man, I love this controller for FPS games. It might not quite have the accuracy or speed of a mouse, but it is the most natural feeling control solution we have so far, and it's incredibly good at everything from hip firing to sniping. Black Ops 1 had a wonky sniping mechanic in place to neuter the control scheme when zoomed in, but switching to an ACOG sight makes the big rifles hilariously deadly. This is only my second match with a Wiimote in over a year, and I was almost up to speed again. And it's just so much more fun to play without relying on aim assist. Number 7, the Killstreaks. On the other consoles, this game had a couple of slightly broken-y killstreaks which were frequently used to spawn kill the shit out of teams. The technical limitations of the Wii completely obliterated any chance of them coming to this version. As a result, no one cried about the gameplay balance and everyone just had a good time. Now, of course, this game isn't perfect. The frame rate is fairly awful, just look at it, and that lack of 60 frames per second hurts the potential of the Wiimote aiming. Frankly, it's a miracle that the game made it onto the system mostly intact, so this was forgivable considering. A map, Crisis I think it was also cut from the game after release due to performance issues and people falling into the void. Weirdly, the developers denied doing this, but I haven't seen it in the rotation in several years, and I've put probably over 1,000 hours into this game so far. And of course, there was the issue of the missing DLC. It was talked about by Activision and Treyarch, it was mentioned in the manual and right on the back of the box, but it never materialized. This made many people salty. But this right here is still my favorite COD game of all. When Black Ops 2 landed on the Wii U, I was ecstatic to finally have the full COD experience and Wiimote controls, looking and running great at last. But the skill ceiling had come down, and no amount of improved presentation could overcome that. With the Switch possibly dropping motion controls altogether, even if the franchise comes back, we may never see another alternative control scheme for the series. So this is Black Ops 1, on the Wii, and it's still kicking ass. So, which was your favourite COD and why? Hit me up into the comments to prove me right or wrong, and sub and or like if you want to see more classic shooty. Have fun everyone, and come fight me sometime.
Sentry gun inbound. Victory is near. Crush all resistance. Friendly sentry gun inbound. They destroyed your equipment. Care package ready. Show us where you want it. Time's almost up. above.